Let's pivot now and check in on the market. Michael Casey joins us on set now to do just that.
Good morning.
Save me from politics, Mike. Tell me what's going on in the market.
You had a big number, right?
It was actually not a bad day at all. I mean, this is after last month being the best January since 1997 for the stocks. We're off to a tear again this morning, largely because of the ADP private sector jobs data. Up 180,000, expected to have gained 170, so that's a positive sign. Numbers out of Europe as well were better than expected. This is in the PMI, the manufacturing sector, showing a continued contraction, but less than people had feared.
And at this point, you know, they'll
take
whatever
anything.
They
exactly.
Get. There was, on the other hand, some less encouraging data when it comes to the state of its bank industry, when it comes to credit terms, credit lending, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's still some sort of fairly negative signs around the banking sector. Obviously, people as though I think willing to put that aside right now, and we're particularly focused on Greek debt talks, which seem to be coming through any day now. We will have a solution.
Which we've been saying for a while.
We've been saying, but you know what? It's like at the end of the day, this is the way these things always work. Until you get to the crunch moment when you have to get a deal, they're going to stretch things out to get as much.
And as we've seen, and that the Journal and Newswires have covered quite well, you know, there are some real significant issues now that have sort of been added to the Greek debt drama, and that is, you know, this notion pushed by the German officials that, you know, we want sort of a bit more controls over your budget taking because you haven't lived up to prior commitments. So
like, are we overlooking how potentially a Greek election might change things here? Elections in France. I mean, is it too soon to say
there's still so many issues on the horizon. Certainly, I mean, elections in France are a key one. I mean, it's interesting. Merkel and Sarkozy have sort of posited themselves as this key alliance to resolve Europe's problems.
Almost running mates.
Exactly. The running mates. Merkel, in fact, is supposed to be campaigning on the stump behalf of. I mean, if that fails, and it's remarkable, it shows that Hollande, who's the front runner, it seems, in the French elections, could be a problem in terms of this alliance. So there's a lot of issues still on the table. But, you know, Portuguese bond T-bills came through with lower rates today as well. So there's still signs that the real tension in bond markets is improving. And then, of course, here in the US, we're seeing, you know, a series of reasonably good data. Whirlpool today, which is something of an indicator of consumer demand, up 10%. Aetna did quite well. Amazon not so great last night, of course, but nonetheless, there's still, you know, revenues gaining 36%. I mean, it's still the Kindle is selling well. It's just not doing so very well at a profit.
If we can go back to ADP, because that's sort of the new figure today. How do economists translate that into what they predict for non-farm payrolls growth
big number
when we get the number Friday?
Well, I mean, there's all this debate about how predictable it is. You know, they're very different surveys. It's built upon a different database, and there's been a bit of a conjecture about how reliable it is as an indicator. And I think over time, though, they tend to look at the series as being relatively well aligned with each other. It's just on a month-by-month basis, it's not such a good idea.
To take December, ADP came in with this huge number, over 300,000. That's been revised down a little bit, but that caused people to revise up their gains. So when it's a clear hit, you know, above or below, but in this case being so on the money,
it's marginal. It's 10,000
a lot of
more.
people still looking in the range, Neil. I think of about 125.
Well, yeah, 125. Maybe 150. 125 is what we're calling as a
because the notion is that private is going to outpace that government work is going to continue to shrink a little bit.
Government workers are not captured in ADP. They're only captured in the
sorry, Kelly, but to go back to politics, just for 1 minute.
Fine.
Job growth, I would think, between 100 and 200,000 per month, while not going to set the economy on fire, will probably generally work to the advantage of President Obama as we get closer to November, if that trend holds and accelerates.
Another key number, again, that Obama's not going to be upset about, ADP, apparently small and medium-sized businesses were the drivers of the growth this month. And so those factors are quite positive from a kind of a broader economic standpoint.
And also on the radar screen today, the failed merger between New York Stock Exchange and Deutsche Börse, and of course, Facebook. Maybe planning to go public. We'll have much more on this on the Markets Hub at 10:30 a.m. Michael Casey, thank you, sir.